Is there any sort of psychological effect that you could use to describe why their demeanor would be like this, why they wouldn't be more elated or more exuberant to describe what they just went through? Because a lot of people, this is one of the main reasons people who question the moon landing, this is one of the main pieces of evidence they use. They say that these guys look like they just got brainwashed or something, or that they were just told to lie about something. But is there any sort of like, because the astronauts have described particularly this effect of coming back to Earth from outer space and seeing the Earth. There's this overview effect that happens where it kind of like crosses some wires psychologically, where when you get back to Earth, it's almost like nothing will ever meet the level of intensity and excitement as walking on the moon. And maybe that could explain some of the reasons why all the astronauts, their lives just went into a downward spiral when they got home. They became alcoholics. They divorced their wives. What do you make of that?
I think it's hard to say. People had different reasons for leaving their wives, going into. Buzz was sort of an alcoholic, and when he left the space program, he was. He went into I'd call it a downward spiral. He'd been at the top of the list for importance, and then he got out. Then he went to ended up as commander of the test pilot school as a colonel. He was still on active duty, and then he was very upset. I think because he never did make general until recently. He was made general, and I think the Air Force finally rewarded him for that, if I'm saying this correctly. Anyway, some people had different emotions of, my flight, though I was number 10 on the moon.
Oh, your phone's ringing.
Uh-oh. Sorry.
It's okay.
My wife. I was really exuberant. Even when we got back, it was just, I was number 10 on the moon, and it was the most incredible experience to see the moon and to not drive the rover, but ride the rover and picking up rocks and seeing the beauty of the moon. It was thrilling and exciting, and we didn't want to come back. We were having so much fun, and they said, "Get back in, you guys. It's time to come home." So we got back inside.
Do you recall any similar feelings? Like what was your state? Like what kind of were you in a different state of mind when you got back to Earth for a while? Were there any sort of lingering psychological effects that may have affected you at all?
I think it was just excitement. I'm on the moon. I'm on the moon.
No, I mean when you got back.
And when I got back, I had the same feelings that I've been to the moon, and it was a thrilling experience. I love to talk about it. I still do. It was not life-changing, but it was a tremendous experience of being selected. It was an honor to be a moonwalker, and we just threw ourselves into it. For 2 years, John and I trained. We were back up on 13. And then we helped them return. And then after that, we went prime crew, and it was 2 years later that we finally flew. And so it was a long time to get focused on that. And this is going to happen sooner or later. And sooner or later, 2 years later, we landed on the moon. And it was an exhilarating experience. And awesome we didn't want to come back.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the, look at that rock over there, John, look at it over here. It was just excitement the whole time we were on the moon. And yet it was, you had a job to do, so you had to follow the flight plan, if you will. And finally you got outside, and not outside, but it's time to come back in. You didn't want to come back in. Oh, give me 2 more minutes, guys, or something like that. And but mission control was very adamant. You got this level of oxygen and water remaining. Get back inside. So we got back inside.
So the objectives and the tasks that you guys had to accomplish when you were outside of the moon sort of overpowered the, you didn't really get any sort of like moment to reflect and internalize what was happening right then and there, and to like sit back and just take in the awe of being 240,000 miles away.
We were too busy for that.
Too busy.
Yeah. Later on, looking back at it now, it was a tremendous experience, and we wanted to stay longer. We wanted another 2 hours on the moon or whatever it was, and they said, "Get back inside, guys. Time to come home." And we were late landing because of a problem with the command module.
Why was it that Neil only ever did one? He did 2 talks in his entire life about.
He was one of the shyest guys I've ever met, and it was never, look at me, I'm the big Neil Armstrong. He was shy and reserved, and never took credit.
One of the last things he said about traveling to the moon was, perhaps someday the children of the world will be able to remove one of truth's protective layers. The people I interviewed about him said he was the opposite of shy until he returned from the moon. His personality changed dramatically. He was the life of the party. He played the piano. He was the center of attention at all parties.
Before the moon mission?
And then afterwards, something in him changed. He refused to give interviews unless the president asked him to. And the last time one did Clinton, it's a clip in my movie at Sibrel.com on the homepage, he says, perhaps someday, to the children touring the White House, you'll be able to remove one of truth's protective layers. And that's what we're trying to do today.
Did you notice that at all? His personality changing before and after? Nothing.
He got shyer, I think. He did. I always took it that he didn't want to take any credit for this. It was, he happened to be first on the moon, but anybody could have been first on the moon, basically. And, he was just scheduled to be on Apollo 11. So that put him first on the moon. Buzz Aldrin wanted to swap places with him, so Buzz was the first on the moon. And,
oh, really?
Yeah, but he didn't do it. And the hatch, Neil was on the left side, and the hatch was underneath the computer, the instrument panel in the center, and the hatch opened towards the lunar module pilot. So the guy on that left side had to get out first.
That was it?
That was it. Just the way the hatch swung open.
Wow. Yeah, you would just think, being the first man to walk on the moon, you would almost be pushed more into the public spotlight, because
he was shy. He really was.
After he returned, he became shy.
Right.
After what?
After he returned.
The people I interviewed said he was the opposite.
Beforehand.
Very gregarious person, life of the party. He played the piano. Everyone surrounded him at all parties.
I never remember him like that.
No. Did you spend a lot of time with him beforehand?
He was, forgot what, I was involved in Apollo 8, Apollo 9, no, not 9, 8, 10, 11. Okay, so those crews, and then I was back up on 13 and then flew on 16. So I got to know him, and Buzz was a different, walked to a different drum. I thought Neil was very shy, but very competent. He had a tremendous background in test pilot experience when he was at Edwards Air Force Base. And he was just really sharp. And but he was an all shucks kind of guy. We went to the moon. 6 times we landed on the moon.
You lied to the American public 6 times, which shows the
not
arrogance
true.
of the American. Well, then
You
I
don't
guess
believe
this guy
you
is
don't
lying.
believe we landed on the moon.
You didn't know that before you got here.
No.
Yeah, no,
Come on.
his life's
So
work.
how did we get 600 pounds of moon rocks?
Well, like I
Let's
said,
talk about the moon rock. Okay, let's put a pin there. Now let's talk about the moon rocks. Okay, what evidence do you have? I know you have some that proves that the moon rocks were not actually moon rocks, right?
yeah. If you could let me find the clip here.
Bart's
or you could
position
look
is-
it up.
Bart's position is the moon rocks aren't
Netherlands
real.
fake moon rock. Let's go to clip D7 real quick. This is a recent article about the French government, and they committed a crime in 1945 that they're still lying about today. And what happened was their soldiers returned from World War II and wanting their back pay. And they refused to give it to them because they were black. And when they kept protesting, they machine gunned 300 of them in a single base and buried them. That just came out. That happened in 1945. And play the clip, and let's read this news article. It says one of the things that they did was they fabricated.
What does that have to do with moon rocks?
What has
Because
this
it
got-
shows governments, it says they fabricated and destroyed evidence. So we're going to look at the fabrication. I'm just trying to find the clip here. It's out of sequence.
All right, that has absolutely
about the
nothing to do
moon
with
rocks.
Bart.
Or you could look it up. Look up fake moon rock in Amsterdam.
Yeah, So, are the moon rocks something that is available for the public to see?
D29.
Yeah. I mean, the moon rocks are on display all over the world. And also they're still doing experiments on the moon rock. NASA's, the Lunar Planetary Institute, or whoever it is controlling those and sending those out. People submit experiment requests still today about to do experiments on the moon rocks. So there's still moon rocks available.
Did they let outside researchers do analysis on them, and
Universities, yeah.
universities do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they let universities have some. Like, I'm not involved in that at all.
Right, sure.
And, I've been with NASA for a long time, but the moon rocks are unique, and they're radioactive, whatever, and not radioactive evidence, but they're the way they have been collected. They were collected on every mission. They were isolated when they got back and put in the lunar receiving lab. And now they're still being given out samples. People are still requesting samples of moon rocks. And NASA evaluates these experiments that they request. And apparently they're still giving some of it out. I haven't been with NASA in a long, long time, so I don't know how it works today.
So, Bart, how do you explain us having actual moon rocks here on Earth?
Well, like I said, von Braun went to Antarctica. There's a picture of him in Antarctica where he collected hundreds of pounds of lunar meteorites, which they use for fake moon rocks. NASA also has the most advanced ceramics lab in the world where they could take a rock and falsify micrometeorites in it. And then go to clip 29. This is about moon rocks.
What?
It says they opened one up and it proved to be fake. Do you realize a few years ago, a 70-year-old woman was arrested by the FBI and thrown in a cell, not allowed to go to the bathroom. She had to pee on herself because she had a paperweight with one speck of an alleged moon rock in the very center of it, and she couldn't pay her electric bill or mortgage. And it was given to her by her husband, who got it from someone at NASA. And the FBI surrounded her to get that. so that it couldn't be opened and examined independently. And this is just a tiny speck of a moon rock.
Who is this? What was this woman's name?
I don't know, but you could look it up. 70-year-old woman arrested for having a moon rock or trying to sell a moon rock.
See if you find it, Steve.
And play clip 29, you said, what's the proof of the fake moon rocks?
Yes.
You have D29 there, Steve?
Let's see it.
Look at D29. It's a still of the article. And
Okay, from the
moon
Telegraph.
rock given to Holland by Neil Armstrong is a fake. This is one that had complete chain of custody from the surface of the moon to Neil Armstrong's hand, to his pocket, to the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, hermetically sealed, opened a few years ago after someone watched my film out of curiosity, and it ends up being this out-of-world looking piece of petrified wood. Now, unless trees are growing on the moon rock is fake, and yet no reporter has the courage to ask, if the moon rocks are fake, what about the moon missions? I had a reporter from the Washington Post that broke the Watergate story. I showed him the footage, which we're going to show, of them faking being halfway to the moon, that says don't show to the public at the beginning of it.
You're all over the place.
Yeah, but
we'll get to that.
the point is, he agreed that it proved they never left Earth orbit, but he was forbidden to publish it.
Okay. We got to stick to one topic. Let's go back to the moon rocks. This piece of petrified wood that you were showing that was given to the Prime Minister of Holland, right? Or I thought it was a Dutch Prime Minister.
The same thing. Dutch is Holland. Or
Okay,
Netherlands.
I thought it was like the Netherlands,
Yeah.
right? Correct. Okay. I've heard this story before. I first heard it from you. I also heard a pushback on this, that it was not Buzz Aldrin or Neil Armstrong who gave it to the Prime Minister of the Netherlands. However, it was the U.S. ambassador to the Netherlands that gave him this thing.
Well, from my understanding, it went
So
from,
it was not directly from him.
Neil Armstrong is the one who said he picked it up. And it was on a visit of him.
Said it to who?
He visited the Netherlands and gave it to the Prime Minister.
Okay, we should find this.
He claimed he picked it up and put it in his pocket.
Let's
the point
find this.
is,
Who gave the Prime Minister of the Netherlands the fake moon rock? Who actually gave it to him?
So for 40 years, everyone thought it was a moon rock. It was billed as a moon rock, picked up off the lunar surface by Apollo 11. They did a little tour around the world afterwards. He gave moon rocks to various people. He gave one to the Prime Minister of the Netherlands. It was sealed. It was opened up a few years ago.
Okay,
it was
right here.
proven to be a piece of
Bart, right here.
petrified wood.
It says Prime Minister. Okay, the rock was not given to the Dutch Prime Minister by astronauts, but was instead given to the former Prime Minister William Dries by the then U.S. Ambassador William Middendorf in 1969 during a goodwill tour by the Apollo 11 astronauts.
Okay, so the
rock
Apollo
was
11
later found to be
astronauts were
fake
there.
and actually was a piece of petrified wood.
Okay, so Neil Armstrong was there at the visit. That's when the rock was given. He claimed he picked it up. The Prime Minister of the Netherlands didn't pick it up. Neil Armstrong picked it up. There he is. Apollo 11 astronauts during
How
the
do we know?
Goodwill tour.
We don't know that. Okay, says it was during the tour, the
Okay,
Goodwill
so
tour.
either Neil Armstrong or
okay,
Buzz
so
Aldrin
what is
claimed
your
to
point?
pick it up.
So
What
it's
is- what is
it
Well,
your
seems
because
it seems
you can't figure it out.
Hold on,
you
Bart,
claim the moon
you gotta
rocks
put the
for
headphones
proof.
on, or you can't just keep talking over everybody, bro. It's like it's too much.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's too much. His point is that this piece of moon rock that was given to the Prime Minister of the Netherlands during the Apollo 11 Goodwill tour with Neil and Buzz was later analyzed and found to be petrified wood and not a moon rock. That's his evidence that the moon rocks aren't real.
Well, I brought back a couple 100 pounds, maybe, moon rocks. I don't remember exactly. And they're very unique. They got a radiation history that is unique.
They look anything like that?
No,
No.
they look like charcoal, and they don't look like that.
Okay.
They look like more gray charcoal.
What was the biggest moon rock that you brought back?
I think 25 pounds.
Whoa. Like roughly
I had
how
to
big
roll,
though?
I had to roll it up my leg. It was so big. First EVA at Plum Crater. And
Is that a moon rock, right? Is that a real moon rock?
we didn't collect anything like that. The one on the right.
No.
No.
What? Zoom out, Steve. See if we can find something that Charlie would think that looks like one of the moon rocks that he grabbed. Does any of this look like one of the rocks that you had?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
What if we Googled Charlie Duke moon rock?
Oh, there you go.
Maybe Apollo 16 moon rock.
Oh yeah, or Apollo 16 moon rock. Yeah.
A Big Muley I picked up. Go left. Is that Big Muley? The one on the left.
Zoom
Farther
out,
left.
Steve.
That one. The Big Muley. No, the other one to the left.
That one.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's a real moon rock.
That's I picked it up. Yeah.
That was a 25 pounder.
I don't remember how. No, it didn't weigh that much. But
No.
But I don't remember. We picked a total collection for Apollo 16 was probably a couple 100 pounds.
And when you got him into the module, when you got the rocks in there, did you have them in any kind of specific bag or anything?
We had them in vacuum boxes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them,
right?
And then a lot of them were just in I don't remember exactly. In none of them, whether we had them brought back or just didn't have room for them in these rock boxes we call them.
Mm-hmm.
But most of them were put in rock boxes outside, and so never saw atmosphere inside.
Right. So once you took your suit off, you weren't able to interact with them at all. You couldn't touch them. You could smell them.
I don't remember doing any of that. No.
No. What about once you got back to Earth? Did you touch them at all or hold them at all when you got back to Earth?
We went into the lunar receiving lab where they were, and we were able to put on gloves or whatever it was and sterilize that thing and just look at them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember being picking them up and tossing them around or anything like that.
Were there any smells that you remembered? Like usually smells are good at triggering memories. Like was there any specific smell that was strange to you about the moon when you got back in the?
Well, we were pretty stinky, I can say that.
A lot of BO.
A lot of BO.
A lot of BO, but nothing else. No other interesting smells.
No. Well, I mean, some of the food smelled. You could, smell a tuna salad or something.
What about
like
like dust or something, like dust from the moon on your suit or on your boots or something, anything like that? No?
I don't remember any smell from sometimes it smelled like there was a gunpowder smell sometimes. And
what was that from?
I don't know. It's probably moon dust, but I'm not sure. But there's no organic material in it, like gunpowder.
Right.
So
Okay. So this moon rock debate is difficult because we don't have any moon rocks and we haven't done any analysis on any moon
we
rocks.
picked up that one, Big Muley.
Okay.
On
Yeah,
the
it
right.
looks absolutely nothing like the petrified wood on the left.
No.
So it was given to this guy. So I guess the story is true. I mean, if we've corroborated it with AI and with Bart's article that gift was given, but it wasn't. It was given by the U.S. ambassador to the Prime Minister of the Netherlands.
The one on the left?
The one on the left, yeah. And it was he was told.
It doesn't look like any of the moon rocks we collected.
Right.
Well, you said they were different at different landing sites earlier, that the rocks at your site in Apollo 11 were different.
Were the rocks different at different landing sites? Did they look different?
Not that I recall. Not that different. They're not that much different.
Right. Okay.
The number one proof is what we have next. I'm answering your question about what proof there is. Now, I gave NASA the benefit.
About what specifically?
About how they didn't go to the moon. They can't leave Earth orbit. They still can't leave Earth orbit.
Are we talking about radiation belts now?
No, I'm talking about the footage of them faking being halfway to the moon.
The footage. Okay.
If you show,
I do after this. I would like to talk about the radiation belts, if that's okay.
That's next after this.
Perfect.
Right? And so first, let's look at the slide, D8. This is at the beginning of the reel. I asked NASA for every video, every film from Apollo 11, figuring if they faked it, they're more likely to have made a mistake the first time they faked it. Now, keep in mind, I went from being the biggest fan, gaga, worshiping the Apollo 11 project with pictures on my wall everywhere I went like a shrine, to having an open mind that maybe they faked it, to looking into it, being given $1 million by somebody who builds rockets for NASA to investigate it, who said they were fake, and then stumbling upon this evidence, which is what convinced me that they were fake. In fact, this footage was shown to 2 NBC News directors. They both agreed it proved that Apollo 11 never left Earth orbit, and they were threatened by the federal government not to broadcast it or to have their license pulled. So the first part you'll see in D8 is the slide that says not for public distribution.
Oh, it's not popped up.
There we go. Okay. So that shows that this is not for public distribution. Now, the next clip is at the very...
Let's read it. It says, this film of the Apollo 11 mission was produced as a report film by the Manned Spacecraft Center and is not for general public distribution.
Yeah, I asked NASA for unedited footage, and everything I got was pre-edited with a voiceover, and it's the same footage over and over again on 10 different reels, exact same footage. Most reporters are satisfied with that. I'm investigating the possibility that they faked it, and I asked for everything, specifically unedited footage. I got this and one other reel that was unedited. Now, at the very beginning of the reel, clip 9, which you're about to play, you'll hear NASA say, the TV picture looks great. Then there is exactly 4 seconds of dead air. You'll hear a third party that's not NASA, not the astronauts, presumably the CIA. And after 4 seconds go by, they tell Neil Armstrong in a private earpiece, talk. And then he starts speaking because he's claiming that he is halfway to the moon at this point in the mission. The timestamp indicates, according to the script, that they're supposed to be halfway to the moon. In fact, they never left Earth orbit. They can't leave Earth orbit now, and there's a number of reasons for that. So,
Charlie, have you ever seen this footage before?
No, it's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, it is crazy how corrupt the federal government is.
Well,
so
I mean, you're calling me a liar. I never went to the moon.
Well, obviously. I mean,
Okay.
what a surprise. You knew who you were going to be here.
I
You knew
don't
who
know.
was going to
12
be here
of us-
before you got here.
12 of
you
us-
act like it's a surprise.
I
It's a
am
good acting.
surprised. I didn't realize that you thought it was all a fake.
You knew that. You
No, I
reminded
didn't.
me of our phone conversation 20 years ago when you walked in the door. That I said you quoted me
I
word
showed
for
you his-
word.
I showed you his
that I
website
had
before
proof
you came down
that we
here.
didn't go to the moon. You knew when he invited you. This is no surprise, and yet you're acting like you're surprised. This is why you should get the Academy Award. Now, the
right.
reason is if he's halfway to the moon, there would be an estimated 2-second radio time there and 2 seconds back. So they're faking
Sure.
a radio delay.
Okay.
You'll hear NASA. You'll hear 4 seconds go by. You'll hear a third party that's not NASA, not the astronauts, prompt Neil Armstrong with talk. And that way they can fake the 4-second radio delay. Go ahead and play clip 9.
Oh, Apollo 11, Houston, Goldstone says that the TV looks great. Over. Okay, Roger, Oh, Apollo 11, Houston, Goldstone says that the TV looks great. Over. Okay, Roger,
Okay, so
And where,
there's
how was it? Where did you get this stuff from again?
from NASA.
NASA sent you this.
Bill Casing, a
one second.
contract-
They sent it to you by mistake?
Either that or one of my sources at NASA who said the missions were fake, thinks a whistleblower sent it to me.
Okay.
And so...
Hold on, Charlie, what do you make of that?
I don't understand what he's talking about here, but the missions were not fake. They sent me to the moon.
And we understand that. You've
The
been saying that
video-
for 56 years.
Hold on, Bart. The footage that we just watched was from Apollo 11. Could you hear it? Can you hear it in your headphones? It's Houston communicating with the astronauts on the radio, and then you hear a 4-second delay, and then you can hear the audio of someone going, talk. And then you hear Neil Armstrong responding to Houston. Let's watch it one more time. Let's show Charlie one more
I
time.
didn't get that.
Yeah, let's show him one more time. Just read the text.
Oh, Apollo 11, Houston, Goldstone says that the TV looks great. Over.
2, 3, 4.
Okay, Roger,
You see,
Does that make sense?
Apollo 11, Houston,
No.
Goldstone Goldstone
They can't leave Earth orbit
TD,
today,
looks
and they
right,
can't
over.
leave Earth orbit in 1969.
Okay, Roger,
So the footage is footage of the moon, and you could hear Neil talking to Houston, right? In that video clip?
Yeah.
You could hear them talking. And there's a little voice that pops up after 4 seconds that says, talk to Neil. Why would there be a voice
I don't know. I
telling
have no
Neil
idea.
to talk?
Yeah.
Okay. He has no
Are they
idea.
on the moon, or
They're
in
halfway,
orbit?
right?
They're supposed to be halfway to
So
the
this is
moon.
when they were halfway to the moon, communicating with Houston. And after Houston said something on the radio, there was 4 seconds, and then somebody on the radio saying, talk to Neil, instructing Neil to respond to Houston after 4 seconds. Why do you think that would be?
I don't know.
Okay.
In my recollection, I was in mission control for Apollo 10.
Mm-hmm.
I was Capcom. I was in mission control for Apollo 11.
Mm-hmm.
It's Capcom. And nothing like this ever happened in mission control.
No, there would never be anybody saying talk to anybody.
No.
It would just be as soon as you hear it, you would respond.
Generally, that was true, yeah.
Okay, what were the exceptions?
I can't think of any right now, but I mean, if say again, Houston, or say you a lot of reasons that mission control had not mission control, but we had problems, scratchy communications.
So if you couldn't understand.
yeah,
Okay, I see what you're saying.
say again, whatever.
Yeah, except the quality, the EQ of the audio of talk is completely different. It's not obviously
Okay.
NASA
Understood.
who just spoke,
Right.
and it's not Neil Armstrong who responded. They're faking a 4-second radio delay to pretend that they're beyond Earth orbit.
So this is him. So Bart's position is that video with the voice coming in and saying talk is them trying to fake a 4-second delay. That's part of his argument.
So what? I mean, I don't understand.
That's just one of his arguments. Is that because you hear the voice come in and say talk, the talk comes in 4 seconds after Houston finishes their statement, right? So the presumption from Bart is there's no delay, but the astronauts were instructed to wait for 4 seconds until someone else came in and said talk. That way it would look like there was a 4-second delay, and it would look like they were already halfway to the moon.
Right, because if you play clip 11, Neil Armstrong, for the TV audience, the part that was shown to the public, says he's calling in from about 130,000 miles out.
Right.
Halfway to the moon. Go ahead and play clip 11.
Roger, Houston, Apollo 11. Calling in from about 130,000 miles out.
Okay, so that's him lying. He's not 130,000 miles out. He's still in Earth orbit. That's why they faked the 4-second radio delay. Now play clip 10.
Is this the photo of them faking the window thing?
Almost. The one
Okay.
before.
Okay. Let's try to go through this. We have a lot to cover, and we're almost 2 hours in.
We only have one window that has a view of the Earth, and it's filled up with the TV camera.
Okay, so go back to clip 11, the 130,000 miles out. Don't play the audio, but just bring up the image, and you can hit pause so we can see the image. So according to Neil Armstrong, there's only one window that has a view of the Earth, and it's filled up with the TV camera. Because if
Make sure you're talking to the mic.
Oh, yeah. So if you were really halfway to the moon, looking back at the Earth like this appears to demonstrate, even though it's a fake shot, you would have to have the lens of the camera to the window in order to shoot the Earth far away, floating in space. He says, he's lying, 130,000 miles out, and he says that the camera is completely filling up the window. That's a lie too. The camera is really at the back of the spacecraft. There's about 15 feet between the camera and the window. They've turned out all the lights, which they talk about because they thought these conversations would be edited out. And that's actually the circular window of the spacecraft, outside of which it's filled with the Earth and low Earth orbit. One cinematographer believes they took a transparency, a positive, a slide of the Earth photographed from a satellite and placed it over the window that was backlit by Earthshine. Now, if you play the final clip, the D11, play it all the way through to revealing. So play 11 one more time. There were 2 clips on 11. So this is supposed to be...
Into the mic. Oh.
No, just let it play at normal speed. This is supposed to be the Earth, but that's fine. This is supposed to be the Earth floating in space. This is the outtake. That's why it said, do not show to the public. There's Buzz Aldrin removing part of the effect in front of the window. That's a work light. The camera has been at the back of the spacecraft the entire time. The iris is opened and you can see the real location and the very bright Earth out the window. They just faked being halfway to the moon. My critics agree. That is them faking being halfway to the moon. 2 NBC News directors agree. That is them faking being halfway to the moon. And they were told by the federal government if they broadcast it, they would have their license pulled. So go to Sibrel.com. All of these clips can be seen there for free. This is what convinced me. I gave NASA the benefit of the doubt for as long as possible. And when I saw this, they are faking halfway to the moon. So if you could really go to the moon, why would you be faking any of it? And if you're faking being halfway to the moon, it's because you can't go halfway to the moon. And what a surprise. 56 years later, they still cannot leave Earth orbit. Only mannequins can. And we'll go on to why next, which is the Van Allen radiation belt.
All right, hold on. Let's put a pause there. So, Charlie, on your trip on Apollo 16, did you guys ever turn around and take film or footage or any photos of the moon, or I'm sorry, of the Earth when you were about halfway?
I'm sure that we did. I don't remember specifically, but we were.
If you were to take a video or a film of the Earth on your way to the moon, how would you do it?
Well, you turn a window to the Earth, and there was I had a window right up here, which was a triangle. I had a window right over here. And in zero gravity, you had to hold the camera up to the window, towards the window,
okay,
and the objects you had out there. So you could do it from any window. It depends on how you oriented the spacecraft.
So, okay, so you would be able to orient the spacecraft while you're traveling to the moon to line up a window with the Earth.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, and so roughly how big is that spacecraft? How big is the interior?
Less than if I'm in my couch, I can reach out and touch in my suit, and I could reach out and touch the side of the spacecraft.
Okay.
John Young on liftoff, it was Mattingly. He was touching my shoulder, and on the other side, he was touching John's shoulder, and John was reaching out and touching the side of the spacecraft.
But the command module,
the command module.
Yeah, the command and service module were coupled together, so there was actually more depth than that.
Okay,
no, not in the spacecraft. It wasn't. They were. The service module was hooked to the command module was sat on top of the service module, and we received a lot of stuff from the service module, but the command module was a separate entity and didn't have connections. There were electrical connections and service connections, but there weren't any pathway.
You couldn't go there.
You couldn't go there.
Got it. Okay. And so you're saying it was roughly about maybe the size, the length of this table, maybe a little bigger?
Probably this table probably wider than the Apollo spacecraft was.
Okay, and
but depth-wise, about the table.
So when you were, let's just say hypothetically, you're on your way to the moon on Apollo 16. You look back, you want to take a shot of the Earth at halfway, right? You're halfway to the moon. How would you position the camera inside the spacecraft to shoot the Earth?
First off, you'd have to get a window looking at the Earth.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And you could get the window. You face the Earth. There was a triangular window here. And a window here for me,
What was the shape of the other window for you?
I think it was a sort of a triangular shape.
Triangular shape.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, you could get up there with a camera and just look out, and if the spacecraft was not rotating the held position, then you could just reach out and just start taking pictures with your Hasselblad or the 16 millimeter camera we had. We didn't waste film though.
And you would put it basically right smack dab up to the window. No?
Sometimes you would.
Okay.
Okay. Depends on what you were trying to look at. If the Earth was out there and you wanted to get right close so you could see the whole of the Earth, you would. You could get back and you could still see the Earth out there, but it was like you were looking through a 4 foot of air in a spacecraft, so you'd want to get up right next to it to get
Right
a
next
good
to the
picture.
window.
Yeah,
Right. And how fast was the craft moving at that point? Halfway,
it varied.
roughly.
Well, it took 72 hours to get to the moon. It's 200 and something thousand miles. So on average, it 3,000 miles an hour.
3,000 miles an hour. Okay. What is your position on the Van Allen radiation belts?
Well, my position is what von Braun's original findings were, which is that it's 250 times a lethal dose. We have a quote from him in print that he says that if you do the math. And if you first show slide D12.
Okay, before you get to D12, for people that don't know, that are listening to
this is
Bart
an
for the first
image
time.
of the belt.
So yeah, the Van Allen radiation belts are basically large toroidal donut-shaped pockets of radiation that exist about, 1,000 miles out from the Earth?
And extend about 30,000 miles.
Extend about 30,000 miles. And every single space shuttle launch, basically every astronaut and every space shuttle launch, every moonwalk that's ever, or I'm sorry, not moonwalk, spacewalk that's ever been done has been done below that in low Earth orbit. The only manned mission that has ever been outside of the Van Allen radiation belts is the Apollo missions. Is that
gone
correct?
through them.
Yeah,
if you look at D12, you can show the audience what they look like and how every manned space mission, Mercury, Gemini, Skylab, the space shuttle, is well below it. And this field of radiation starts at 1,000 miles and extends about 30,000 miles. If you go to D13, this is a press release from the Apollo mission that was given to the press. They launched from Florida to be near the equator, and they go right out through the middle. You see that right at the equator. They go through the Van Allen radiation belt. Now, if the spacecraft, like General said, is going 3,000 miles an hour and they're 30,000 miles thick, that would be 10 hours in the radiation to the moon and 10 hours back. I believe maybe the spacecraft was going a little bit faster, but in any case, it was at least 2 hours in the radiation to the moon, up to 10 hours, and another 2 to 10 hours back. Now, the Orion mission sent up Geiger counters into the radiation belts in 2014, unmanned, and they registered the radiation. I called NASA. I said, I'm a journalist. This is a non-military, taxpayer-funded scientific mission. Can I please have the Geiger counter readings? They told me that was classified. They weren't able to tell me. Now, when NASA sent probes to the sun to find out the temperature of the sun, the temperature wasn't classified. And when they sent probes to Jupiter to measure the amount of helium in Jupiter's atmosphere, the amount wasn't classified. So why would the amount of radiation inside the radiation belts and a spacecraft intending to one day send people to the moon, why would that radiation measurement be a classified secret?
Charlie, do you know why that would be classified?
I didn't realize it was.
So I would imagine that if it was classified, we would classify it because we wouldn't want the Soviets or the Chinese to know the actual level of radiation. Like, if you guys want to figure it out, spend your own.
What is the point of this discussion?
The point that we're discussing now is Bart's position that the Van Allen radiation belts are too dangerous for human beings to pass through and survive. And he's building his case to why that is right now.
Well, you have to accelerate to 25,000 miles an hour to get out of Earth orbit.
Okay.
I thought you said it was
Hold on,
3,000 miles an hour.
let him talk. He said he was at 3,000 when they were halfway. Sorry,
You're
continue.
Earth's slowing you down. Okay, so the total distance of the moon is about 3,000 miles an hour. 7 times 70, that's 210,000 miles. Okay.
Okay. So
when you go through the Van Allen belts, you're going so fast, it's just you're through.
how fast are you traveling when you guys were going through the Van Allen belts? Do you know?
Escape velocity is about, let's see, I don't remember exactly, 36,000 feet per second or something like that.
NASA told me it was 17,000 miles an hour.
No,
So
that's
if they're-
Earth orbit.
That's Earth orbit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you have to escape Earth orbit, accelerate. Now, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was over 20,000 miles an hour to get out of Earth orbit. And so the S4B, the third stage of the Saturn rocket, you stayed attached to, and that engine lit and pushed you out of Earth orbit on a trajectory to the moon through the Van Allen belts. Then after that, you separated, you turned around and retrieved the lunar module from the third stage. It was riding underneath the command module and service module. So you separated and you turned around and you came back in and you docked. And then when you got all the electrical connections made, you flipped a switch and it released all the bolts, and then you could back it out from the third stage of the Saturn rocket.
Okay.
Well,
When you guys were traveling through the Van Allen belts, were you guys paying close attention to like where in the Van Allen belts you were, and also before you like when you were preparing, you guys did an unbelievable amount of prep and training for this, right? What were for the whole mission, right? What were the conversations like during training with anybody, including von Braun, about astronaut safety when it comes to radiation and the Van Allen belts? What were those conversations like?
There wasn't very much conversation about it. It wasn't any danger. You're going through so fast, you're exposed to so much radiation, but it's just boom, you're through, and the belts are high radiation, but they aren't very thick, so you just go right straight through them, and you don't get much radiation. I don't remember our dosimeters. We had dosimeters, several of them on our body and some in a spacecraft. I don't remember.
And that measures the level of radiation
that we're receiving. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, according to NASA, the radiation belts are 30,000 miles thick.
Right.
And if you were going 20,000 miles an hour, that would be an hour and a half in the radiation to the moon.
Would be an hour and a half. It'd be a little over an hour.
30,000 miles would be, if it's 30,000 miles thick and you're going 20,000 miles an hour.
You said 25.
Well, he said 20.
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, and
you start out at 25,000 miles an hour, but you slow down. Earth gravity slows you down.
At the time you're traveling through the Van Allen belts, through the outer part, the thick part of the Van Allen belts, how fast would you be going?
I don't remember exactly.
Over 20?
Yeah, over 20.
Over 20,000.
Well, then that would put you
So
to
you'd
the
be in
moon.
there for an hour, roughly. You'd be in
10
the Van
hours.
Allen belts
I
for
don't
about an
even
hour.
how thick are they? I don't even remember how thick they are.
Well, according to that math would suggest that it's about an hour in there, right? Maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, about an hour and a half to the moon, hour and a half back at 20,000 miles an hour. But then there's a contradiction. If you're going 20,000 miles an hour with inertia, you'd be at the moon in a little over 10 hours rather than 3 days. The clip,
But they slow down, right? Don't they slow
once
down?
they allegedly, once they got to the moon, obviously they would have to slow down to land on the moon. Now,
May I say something?
Yes.
Okay, so you leave Earth orbit. You're in Earth orbit. You got to accelerate to leave Earth orbit.
Correct.
Certain, I don't remember exactly the figure, but you accelerate to Earth. Then the Earth starts slowing you down. Okay.
At what point does it start slowing you down exactly?
As soon as you shut the engine off.
Oh, okay, got it.
Okay, but you're beyond the end. You had enough velocity to get out of Earth orbit and go straight to the moon, or you got shot out in front. It's like being a shotgun shooter. Mm-hmm. Here's you're aiming this way, but here's the target. By the time you get there, in orbit. I mean, you get there so you can get into orbit.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my train of thought now, but it was never a problem with us about being in the Van Allen belts. You go through so fast, you don't get that much radiation.
So you guys never had a conversation about what trajectory to take through the Van Allen belts, because they can be thinner at the top and they're wider at like the equator, right? So you guys never like decided we got to go through it at this angle or that angle?
We never, the crew had no say.
Got it.
Mission control made your trajectory.
And you weren't aware of it at all either?
Yeah, we knew when we were going through the Van Allen belts.
Oh, you did know when you were going through the Van Allen belts. Okay.
And I think that, I don't remember exactly, but we had dosimeters in the spacecraft, and they must have read something, but I don't remember the details.
Okay.
We have clip 14 of Kelly Smith of the Orion Project, which they said the radiation readings were classified. Here's a video of a new generation of NASA astronauts. We saw one saying they intentionally destroyed a technology for the first time in world history. And here we have the young guy in his 20s saying that the belts are dangerous radiation and the technology to go through them has not been invented yet.
And this is from 2004. This video he's about to play is from 2014 during the build-up to the Orion missions, right?
Mm-hmm. D14.
We are headed 3,600 miles above Earth, 15 times higher from the planet than the International Space Station. As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. Naturally, we have to pass through this danger zone twice, once up and once back. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
Okay, so he said we must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space. So the radiation protection is a challenge that has yet to be resolved. We must solve these challenges in the future before we send people through this region of space. So the challenges of the radiation have not been resolved, and they must do it before they send people through this region of space. So that right there.
We never went to the moon.
What do you what do you make of that though? Like what do you make of this astronaut in 2014 saying that we have to solve the challenges of radiation before we send people to the Van Allen belts? What is your reaction to that?
Through the Van Allen belts? Is that what he's saying?
Does he say through?
Yes.
No, he said into this region. I believe he said.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't want to orbit it.
He said through this region of space.
Can you play it again? Can you play exactly what he says again? Did he say through or
through?
We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
Through this region of space is what he said.
Yeah, on to the moon. The project is Orion, which intends to send people to the moon through this region of space.
Was that the objective of Orion, to send people to the moon?
That's right. It was the precursor to Armistice. So it's all about
Google
returning
what
to
was
the
the
moon.
objective of the Orion missions? The objective of NASA's Orion mission was to transport human crews on deep space missions, starting with a return to the moon under the Artemis program and eventually extending to Mars. Orion is designed to provide long-duration crew support, protect astronauts from deep space radiation, and handle high-speed re-entry into Earth's atmosphere.
Okay.
Mars makes more sense because you're going to be out there for way longer.
Well, look at article. Well,
But he's talking about the Van Allen
talking about
belts.
just through this region of space, which is the Van Allen radiation belt.
Yes.
We must solve the radiation challenges, which means they're not solved. And then he says before we send people through this region of space. So if they
Right.
haven't been resolved yet, then the Apollo astronauts didn't go through them.
Well,
it says so right
it's
there out of his own mouth.
It's definitely, I'm not saying that the astronauts never went to the moon. I'm in the middle here. But it is very weird that a guy in 2014 would say we have to solve the problem of the Van Allen belt's radiation before we go through. It's odd, right?
Sounds like to me it's odd, but we did it.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's why I'm saying you did not,
Right.
obviously.
Where did 200 pounds of moon rocks come from?
I just showed you. Von Braun picked him up from Antarctica. There's a picture of that on the web, picking up lunar meteorites before he went to the moon for the first time. Seems like a weird use of his time. Moon rocks have proven to be fake. And according to a contractor that I spoke to at length, he says NASA has ceramics labs which can mimic moon rocks. Now, go to link 15 as we stay on the radiation. This is an article from Reuters that says radiation prevents travel to the moon. That's slide number 15.
Well, I walked on the moon. I don't know about anybody else, but
Right.
Yeah, you keep saying that. We
Yep.
know that. You've been saying it for 56 years, and you're not going to admit your guilt. Nobody who was, brought to trial for
We're just trying
war crime
to.
ever admitted
We're going
their guilt
through
either.
each piece of evidence and trying to rationally analyze what it means and let the audience decide. And a lot of this, I realize you haven't even seen yet. Like, obviously, you hadn't seen that video of that guy in 2014 saying we have to solve these issues. But it's weird, and that's the case he's making. This is some of these videos that we're playing are some of the reasons that people are questioning it. Go ahead, play it.
Do you know how fast you're going when you leave Earth orbit?
How fast?
Guess.
Well,
25,000 miles
You said
per hour.
3,000 miles. You said 20,000
No,
miles.
he didn't.
You
He said no,
25,000 miles.
Bart. He did not. He said that they were going 25, I think 25 or something like that, or 30 when they were leaving Earth orbit, and then they slow down, and there's different speeds along the pathway, along the journey.
Okay, well, let's read this article heading and what's highlighted.
You leave Earth orbit. I think it was 25,000 miles an hour. You accelerate to 25,000 miles an hour. You leave Earth orbit, and then from there on, you start slowing down.
Right.
Okay. And then when you get to the moon, you accelerate because lunar gravity takes over and you accelerate. And so you're going too fast. When you get there, it whip you around and bring you home. So you put the engine in the
brakes.
front,
Right.
and you point in the direction you've come from, and you burn the engine 6 minutes or so to slow down to get into lunar orbit.
Okay, so at 25,000 miles an hour, inside something 30,000 miles thick is over an hour.
No,
15 minutes.
you're not going that fast when you get to the moon.
Okay, but you said you went through the Van Allen radiation belt
At 25,000 miles an hour, but then you slow down.
Okay, but that's not the issue. The issue is you were inside the belt because they're 30,000 miles thick for over an hour. An hour and 15 minutes going to the moon and an hour and 15 minutes coming back. Would anyone survive getting an X-ray for an hour and 15 minutes?
Charlie
nonstop?
survived.
Well,
First off,
that's one of the reasons why he didn't. Read this article. What's keeping us from Mars? Space radiation, says expert. You want to read that? Because you're blocking me. What does it say?
Let's see. I can't see because of the play thing.
Go ahead. Take it from the top and hit play.
It says Washington Reuters by Maggie Fox, health and science editor. Cosmic rays are so dangerous and so poorly understood that people are unlikely to get to Mars or even back to the moon until better ways are found to protect astronauts, experts said on Monday.
So if the radiation is too severe to travel to the moon today with superior equipment, how did you go 50 years ago with inferior equipment?
We did it.
Well, we know that. You've been saying that for 56 years.
What are you aware
I'm
of?
still here.
What are you,
Which is proof you didn't go through the radiation.
Charlie?
Not
What
true.
sort of what?
I
what
went to the moon.
I understand.
We picked up moon rocks.
was there any sort of special shielding or materials used on the exterior shell or the hull of the spacecraft to protect from radiation? Nothing. Okay.
Not that I remember.
D16 is a quote from Van Allen, who discovered the belts, about the magnitude of the radiation. Play D16. Here's the guy who discovered the belts. They're named after him. And read what he says about the radiation.
Okay. This is from Dr. James Van Allen. He said this in 1959. Our measurements show. Can you hear me, Charlie? He said, our measurements show that the maximum radiation levels as of 1958 is equivalent to between 10 and 100 Roentgens per hour, depending on the still undetermined proportions of protons and electrons. Since a human being exposed for 2 days to even 10 Roentgens would have only an even chance of survival. The radiation belts obviously present an obstacle to space flight.
And then read the bottom part.
But this has 2 days. Exposed for 2 days to even 10 Roentgens. They were only in there for an hour, a little over an hour each way.
Well,
so it would
but
have been
read
2
the
hours.
math underneath it.
So, okay. 10 to 100 Roentgens per hour averages to about 10 to 100 Roentgens per hour averages to 50 per hour. Okay. At the claimed speed of the Apollo craft, this is not James Van Allen saying this. This is somebody who's saying this?
Well, this is the person who wrote the article.
Okay. So this person who wrote the article said that at the claimed speed of the Apollo craft, this would be 2 hours in the radiation to the moon and 2 hours in the radiation back from the moon, or 200 Roentgens. Since 10 Roentgens over 2 days will kill you, which is 0.2 Roentgens per hour, the radiation belts are 250 times a lethal dose.
So that's one reason.
Okay, where can we, this is on your website. Where can we find this quote?
What's the purpose of this discussion?
Bart is claiming that James Van Allen himself said that the amount of radiation that you would get traveling through the belts would kill you. He said this in 1959.
How fast would be?
He's saying,
how fast does he say we're going?
It doesn't. It just says the amount of time. He's talking about the amount of time. He's saying 2 hours.
Radiation is built based on strength and time of exposure.
So he's saying the Apollo astronauts.
How thick are the belts?
30,000 miles.
The Van Allen belts
Yes.
are 30,000 miles thick?
Yes. Google it. Let's Google it. How thick are the Van Allen radiation belts, Steve?
It may be more than that. They keep claiming they discovered extra layers of it that actually add to the thickness.
So I'm supposed to be dead.
Allegedly.
If you went through the belt. But
Let's check his pulse.
So we didn't go through the Van Allen belts.
Let's see. Okay.
well, according to Kelly Smith, you did not.
This
you
says
must solve these challenges before you go through.
the thickness of the Van Allen belts varies. The inner belt is from, don't tell me all this. Okay, this says the outer belt is for 8,000 to 37,000 miles. So they fluctuate, but at the maximum, 37,000 miles thick. So that means you guys would have had over 2 hours of exposure to the belts.
Did James, that the Van Allen belts, did he say that the radiation belt would kill you?
Well, this is Google AI. It's going to be biased.
Yeah, I mean, how does it know Lincoln was the 16th president? It was programmed to say that.
Right. It's reading.
By the
It's
people
reading
who run
from
the
other
world.
articles.
Now the next issue.
This is anecdotal stuff, but like we have to acknowledge that the vast majority of anyone writing about the Apollo missions or any government agency is going to say that James Van Allen didn't say this, and Google AI is pulling from this overwhelming amount of stuff that's written online. So
that's one reason why they can't leave Earth orbit. And another reason is they don't have enough fuel. In my book, Moon Man, on page 149, here's von Braun saying it himself. There's not enough fuel to leave Earth orbit.
Let's hear.
It is
von Braun
commonly
saying that.
believed that men will fly directly from the Earth to the moon. But to do this, we would require a vehicle of such gigantic proportions that it would prove an economic impossibility. Calculations have been carefully worked out on the type of vehicle we would need for the nonstop flight from Earth to the moon and return. The figures speak for themselves mathematically. 3 rockets would be necessary, and each ship would be taller than the Empire State Building, 100 stories. Apollo rocket was about 30 stories, and weigh about 10 times the tonnage of the Queen Mary, or 800,000 tons times 3. The Saturn V weighed 2,500 tons. That's a difference of 30,000% times 3. Now go to clip 18 and you'll see that Elon Musk just said.
All right, Bart, pause. Where did you get that quote from?
It's from his book, Voyage to the Moon, written by von Braun.
Is there a way we can find that quote on the internet?
Probably. I mean, we bought an old copy of his book.
Okay.
And it was written by him and quoted by him.
Okay.
So
if it's on the internet, Steve will find it.
What's the purpose of this discussion?
You don't know.
The purpose of this discussion is
That we didn't go to the moon.
Allegedly.
You're just
that's what I'm
proving
taking from
if you're acting like you don't know, it just proved that you're acting during the interview. So he's not the only one who said you need multiple fuel trips to go to the moon.
So Von Braun, he's saying Von Braun himself was quoted saying that the Apollo missions would need multiple fuel.
3 rockets, each one 30,000% heavier than the Saturn V rocket.
Yeah.
And then Elon Musk said about 6 months ago, if you go to clip 18, he said the Starship, which is 3 stories taller than the Apollo rocket and with the boosters on the side, carries twice the fuel as the Apollo rocket. He says it will take 15 launches or the equivalent of 30 Saturn V rockets in order to leave Earth orbit. We even have a video clip of Von Braun saying everything, the best rocket he can build can only leave Earth orbit.
Let's play that clip. Let's play the clip of Von Braun from the horse's mouth. Let's get what he's saying. What clip number is that so Steve can find it?
What clip?
That one I didn't include, but
how can we find it?
Just go to Sibrel.com. It's one of the links of the
I don't
book.
understand this. I don't understand this conversation.
Well, read this article.
We did it.
I understand that's your position, that you did it and you went and you walked on the moon and you brought back the moon rocks. But why would Von Braun say that it was impossible to get to the moon without multiple fuel trips?
I don't know. I never heard him say that.
Well, we got a video allegedly.
Okay.
Well, and look at
When did he say
the
that?
clip of Elon Musk.
I want to see the clip of Von Braun. Show us where to find the Von Braun clip. Let's stick to one thing
Says
at
he
a time.
doesn't have it.
Well, if you go to
on his website.
Sibrel.com and then go to Moonman Links, look for the one that looks like old 1950s color. And there's one of Von Braun. I don't know what clip it is, but in the meantime, while you're doing that,
No. Wait. You're getting too far ahead of yourself. We're here now. Where do we go?
scroll down, keep scrolling, just keep going, go back up. I'm trying to think where it is. Keep going up, back up. I'm not sure. I know it's on there somewhere. Maybe a supplemental link, but
Maybe you can find it on YouTube. Maybe you can find it on YouTube or something.
yeah, I decided not to bring it. But Von Braun says the largest rocket that we can build, it's with Disney film, can only achieve Earth orbit. He says it word for word in a quote from my book. And now we have Elon Musk. If you go to the clip of D18, he's saying the very same thing. Look at D18. Read this headline and read the highlighted part.
Okay. This is a headline from spacepolicyonline.com. Okay. At least 15 Starship launches needed to execute the Artemis 3 lunar landing. SpaceX will need to launch at least 15 Starships to execute the Artemis 3 lunar landing, NASA said today. So NASA said. So SpaceX will need 15 Starships to execute it, says NASA.
Right. And they carry twice the fuel.
Starship cannot fly directly to the moon, but must refuel in Earth orbit before setting out for deep space.
Yeah, that's what the clip of Von Braun says that I didn't include, that you can go to the moon if you do multiple trips of fuel and ferry the fuel first. Mm-hmm. And now, you're going to love this next clip. Go to clip 19. This was said less than a year ago by a rocket scientist who works with NASA. And he says it's going to take possibly more than 15 trips of fuel in order to leave Earth orbit and go to the moon.
So we did do it. Is what you're saying?
I don't know why you keep acting surprised.
Go ahead, play it.
You're just proving you're acting. You know, you came in here and reminded me of a phone call we had 20 years ago when I said I have proof we didn't go to the moon when I found the footage.
So, okay, who's this guy?
Issues in how people communicate about it. Like there's some architecture problems that people are unwilling to talk about these days because of how they got there politically. And I was like, you know what? I just want to go say the thing that nobody's saying. So that's what I decided to do. Now, a lot of people I respect, when I was doing my research and asking these questions, they said, be careful, Destin. If you say certain things, this might change your relationship with NASA forever. And I thought about it and I decided, you know what? This is the truth, and this is what needs to be said.
I did not understand until this week when I really thought I was going to embarrass myself in front of you guys and then decided to further embarrass myself in front of you guys. I didn't realize that in order to get the human lander to the moon, we have to launch a bunch of additional rockets to tank up in low Earth orbit. I didn't know that. And I'm like, well, how many rockets do we have to do that with? And they're like,
Pause.
6. And then I start, because
Who is this?
He's a rocket scientist building rockets for NASA.
What's his name?
I don't know.
That's would be important to know.
That guy, he's a YouTuber. He has a channel called Smarter Every Day.
Smarter Every Day on YouTube.
Okay. So he's saying it's going to take multiple.
Let's finish playing the video.
Yeah.
I know people. I start calling people. I was like, dude, really, how many rockets is it? They're like, well, boil off. And okay, so I was like, some people were like, well, it's looking like 8. I was like, 8 rockets? We have to fire 8 rockets to fire 1 rocket to the moon? And then they're like, I mean, that's what they're saying, but it's probably more like 12. Really? And then I was like, I'm an engineer. I know how to do this stuff. So I started to account for like nominal schedule slip and boil off. And this is how many rockets it's going to take to fuel up that thing to get it to the moon. I've done the math. If you had any questions.
I found the von Braun clip. It's D17 there, Steve.
Okay.
Von Braun says the biggest rocket you can build can only achieve Earth orbit. You need multiple fuel trips to go to the moon.
Okay.
Says it on camera as well as in print.
All right. This will be good for Charlie to see. Charlie, watch this one.
Here to reveal a plan for a trip around the moon is the chief of the guided missile development at the United States Army's Redstone Arsenal, Dr. Werner von Braun.
A voyage around the moon must be made in 2 phases. A rocket ship taking off from the Earth's surface will use almost all the fuel it can carry just to attain a speed great enough to balance the pull of gravity. Unpowered, it will then keep circling the Earth in an orbit outside of the atmosphere. This is the first phase. However, if we can refuel the ship in this orbit with fuel brought up by cargo rocket ships, it can set out on the second phase, the trip around the moon and back.
So 3 people just said, von Braun said it twice, that you have to make ferried fuel trips to have enough fuel to leave Earth orbit. You had him say it on camera, you had Elon Musk say it, and you had a rocket scientist building rockets for NASA saying it. He also said, I just discovered this, because he is taking the Apollo launches on faith. My bank webpage says that my money is backed by the faith in the United States government that kills their own presidents, kills their own soldiers, and fakes moon landings, right?
So, Charlie, what do you make of that video of von Braun saying that you would need to refuel in Earth orbit to get all the way to the moon? And because he said it would take all the fuel in the rocket to get that orbit around the Earth, and then you would need to refuel again before going to the moon.
I've never heard that before. Actually, they built the Saturn V.
Yep.
And the Saturn V lifted off, and the third stage, that you stayed attached to the third stage, and you were on the front end with the command module, service module, lunar module. You fired out of Earth orbit, and you started way to the moon. So that's the end of the Saturn V. I mean, the S4B.
Okay.
It opened up, the pedals opened up and exposed the lunar module. You separated the command service module, and then beneath it, these flowers opened up and exposed the top of the lunar module. So you'd made a 180-degree turn, and you came back in, and you joined up with the top of the lunar module. That was the docking ring. And you docked, you latched all the latches, made sure you were connected correctly. You hit a switch. And of some sort, and it released the lunar module. And then you just backed it out with your reaction control system in the command service module. And then, so that was the condition. You went to the moon in a barbecue, sometimes in a barbecue, with the lunar module attached. And we went into it to check it out, make sure there was no leaks, this and that and the other. But then we closed it back up again, and then we didn't go in again until we got into lunar orbit. We got into lunar orbit, and John and I was the first one in. And I put on my spacesuit, except for helmets and gloves, and took those with me, and then we went into the lunar module, and I started powering up. And that, I forgot exactly how long that took, but it was several revolutions. And John came in, and when we got ready, we put on our helmets and gloves and pressurized to make sure everything was pressurized the suits to make sure everything was okay. And when everything passed, we just, I forgot whether Mattingly hit the button or it was Mattingly, and he just released us, and we just backed off.
Well, von Braun, in my book, Moon Man, he said that these numbers are mathematically irrefutable. The numbers speak for themselves. Things become more fuel efficient over time. So it's taking a tremendous amount of more fuel to go to the moon now than in 1969. Von Braun said it's impossible twice, once in writing, once on camera. Elon Musk, with a rocket that carries twice the fuel of the Apollo rocket, says that you cannot go unless you make 15 fuel trips first, which is an equivalent of 30 Saturn V rockets. And we just heard a rocket scientist say he may get in trouble with NASA for saying this, but it's going to take 15, 20, up to 28. I counted all of them in the graphic. 28 clips to go to the ships to go to the moon. The next 3 clips I have are people like Kelly Smith and Don Pettit, modern day astronauts, and they say the farthest they can go is Earth orbit. This is clip D20. And they hope to eventually go to the moon. Play D20. It's real short.
Bart, when it comes to
what's the point of this discussion? We did not go to the moon.
You're just digging your hole deeper every time you say that, General.
So Bart, when it comes to
wait.
Yeah.
So Apollo was all faked.
According to Bart, yes, it was all faked. It was a big propaganda campaign during the Cold War.
And so we had 260-something pounds of moon rocks that were brought back. They're all faked?
I guess Bart hasn't seen them, hasn't analyzed them.
Yeah, you remembered word for word a telephone conversation we had 20 years ago, and at the beginning, not recorded, and somehow you can't remember what we said a half an hour ago, that the moon rocks are fake. We showed an article. Von Braun picked up hundreds of pounds in Antarctica right before the Apollo mission, and according to a contractor, they can manufacture them. Go to clip D20.
Just let me make it. I was in delusion for 2 weeks. I was on the moon for 3 days.
Well, you said you have top secret
Wait,
clearance.
Just a minute. And I picked up 200, I think we picked up a couple of 100 pounds of moon rocks. And we brought them back. They've been analyzed. They're moon rocks. And so I don't understand the purpose of this discussion. Why are we going back and saying Apollo was a fake?
Why does an Apollo astronaut have top secret clearance?
I didn't have top secret clearance.
Oh, okay. I thought you said that. Clip D.
I mean, we had nothing in Apollo that was classified. But I did have a clearance from my military time when I was before NASA, and I did have a top secret clearance then.
Okay.
Okay.
Clip D20 is a modern day shuttle astronaut saying the farthest they can go is Earth orbit, and they hope to eventually go to the moon. D20.
D20. Let me look at it.
So when it comes to the evolution of rockets and technology, it's not necessarily that the Saturn rocket would be impossible to make. Like, it wouldn't be physically impossible, but an argument would be that it's logistically impossible, because today in 2025, we don't have the same machines, we don't have the same talents, we don't have the same trades that we had that were available in the 1960s.
Because they destroyed it.
The world has evolved. The economy has evolved. We do things differently now. Objectives have changed. Now we're focusing on building reusable rockets. So the Saturn was not a reusable rocket, right? So now we're trying to save money developing a new style of rocket. So that would be a compelling argument to why we haven't gone back to the moon, is because we build rockets differently because the objectives have changed.
Well, all I know is what Elon Musk says. For a rocket that can carry twice the fuel of the Saturn V Apollo rocket, it's going to take 15 launches to a fuel station first in order to have enough fuel to leave Earth orbit to go to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
He said it. The rocket scientist just said it. Von Braun said it on camera. Von Braun said it in writing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're about to look at a shuttle astronaut who says the farthest they can go with the technology we have is Earth orbit, and they hope to eventually go to the moon. That's clip D21. It's real short.
So that's Smarter Every Day. That YouTuber, that Smarter Everyday YouTuber. He was out of context. It sounds the way it does, but he was here. I'll pop it up here.
Okay.
So his name is Destin, and he was talking about how poorly planned the current moon mission is, that and he was pointing out that this particular Starship HLS, which is the return rocket, it's this thingy right here. It is so heavy that their plan isn't going to work out. And so he did the math with the current weight, and that's why he said it's not going to work out. You need all these rockets. So here's the weight of this thing that they want to build.
This is a different rocket.
This is the one that they haven't built yet, but they want to. It's 100 tons, okay? And then the original Apollo lander was 33,000. No. The moon lander.
Oh, the moon lander was 33,000 pounds.
33,000.
We're talking about the rocket to leave Earth.
Let's talk
No.
He's talking about the lander.
This is the lander. So to have a Saturn rocket carry just 35,000 pounds is nothing. That rocket cannot carry 100 tons.
So what is this? The dry, empty weight of the Starship human landing system is approximately 100 tons. So they're saying that this rocket would need to carry something that's 100 tons compared to the Apollo lander, which was 33,000 pounds.
Yeah, that's
an important context.
Well, Von Braun, I don't know anyone who knows more about it than Von Braun.
Well, Von Braun was talking about 33,000 pound lander. What this astronaut that you just showed us talking about all the refueling, you have to understand the context that the lander that they're talking about shooting off into the moon was 100 tons, according to this.
Well,
so that would make sense that they would need more fuel.
If I hadn't been to the moon in 57 years, I would go just as efficiently as humanly possible.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time in history, technology was destroyed. The lunar module, schematics, the original videotapes.
Right, we've talked about this. It's
now,
all been destroyed, right.
Again, you don't do that unless you're covering your tracks. And we have Elon Musk saying it's going to take 15 ships. You have that guy saying it's going to take up to 28. You had Von Braun say, Von Braun was the designer of the Saturn V rocket. He says it's going to take multiple fuel trips to go to the moon. If that's what it takes today, then that's what it would take then, despite the design, because Von Braun was talking about the lunar module. He's the one who ended up designing all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And he says that equipment is going to take multiple fuel trips to leave Earth orbit.
Right. But again, this thing weighs 100 tons they're trying to bring to the moon. So back then, when Charlie went to the moon, allegedly, the goal was to beat Russia, right? All they cared about was getting man on the moon, to show the world that America was the world leader in technology and science, and was more superior to Russia, right? You could make the argument that the primary goal of the Apollo missions was to just show the world that we're better and just show that we can actually physically put a human being on the moon.
You're right. It was a show.
Now,
Exactly.
right. Doesn't mean it had to have been fake. What it could mean is that we just wanted to get people on the moon no matter what. We could do it with the most efficient, light equipment possible. Now, if we wanted to go back today in 2025, we would have a different objective. We would want to get more done. It wouldn't just be about putting a person on the moon and broadcasting that to the world. It would be about something far greater, like populating the moon or something like this. So it would require different technology. It would require bringing different things to the moon. And it would also require maybe not taking such a risk, right? Like obviously that was a big risk going there in 69 and bringing human beings there. Today you could argue that we wouldn't want to make that level of a risk.
Okay, so in writing and on camera, von Braun talking about the future Apollo rocket, the first rocket to go to the moon. That's the one he was designing. That's the one he said it would take 3 rockets weighing 30,000% more than the Saturn V rocket. Okay. That's what he said on camera. The first rocket to the moon, which is the one they claim they used, it can only go into Earth orbit. And then it would take multiple fuel trips in order to go to the moon. That's the first one, not the current one. Right? Okay. Then we have also Elon Musk saying multiple fuel trips. We have that guy saying multiple fuel trips. That's for, whatever spacecraft. Just to get there and land, it's going to take all of that fuel, multiple fuel trips. They said it back before the Apollo rocket, and they're saying it to, quote, return to the moon.
Okay.
And clip D20 is a space shuttle astronaut saying Earth orbit is their limit. That's why they're faking being halfway to the moon in that clip we showed for radiation.
Okay.
We must solve these challenges before we go through that region of space. Here's an astronaut in clip 20 saying the farthest they can go with current technology is Earth orbit, and they hope to eventually go to the moon.
Okay, let's watch it. 30 seconds.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, the moon, Mars, asteroids, the moon, Mars, asteroids. There's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
Right.
Yeah. He says eventually go to the moon.
Sure.
And he's not the only one. There's 2 other short clips. I mean, if he's misspeaking, then we have 3 people misspeaking. The next one says this is the beginning of humans leaving Earth orbit. That's clip D21. The beginning of humans leaving Earth orbit is what this astronaut says. Clip 21.
Okay.
But we're also really pushing the boundaries in terms of where we're going forward with exploration. I think humans are naturally driven to do this, and this is really the beginning, I think, of human beings leaving low Earth orbit.
And the next clip is from about 4 months ago, an astronaut for the Artemis program saying this is going to be the first time we send humans to the moon. He even says before it, you got to pay attention. You may not like this, or words to the effect that the other guy said.
Okay.
Clip
this is
D22.
the last clip we're going to play on this topic, then we're going to move to the next one.
Sure. That's how I have it.
Okay.
This is going to be an odd answer. It might land wrong, but I'm going to try anyway. This is the first time we're going to send humans to the moon. This is the first time we're going to send humans to the moon. This is the first time we're going to send humans to the moon.
What did he say after that? You cut it out. What did he say after that?
Well, he went on talking, and they passed the microphone back and forth.
Yeah, but how do you know?
Have 3 hours.
How do you know he didn't? How do the viewers know that he didn't say in 53 years or something like that? Like you just.
No, he didn't. You can find it.
Okay, we'll take your word for it, I guess. But
yeah,
I
listened to it. It's just they passed the microphone around. He even said something to the words of the effect, "This may rock the boat of the audience" or whatever, something like that.
Okay.
To me, this is one of the most striking examples of why the moon landings are fake. If you look at D23, this is the shadows.
Okay, let's see.
I'm a filmmaker.
Oh, the shadows. Oh, okay.
My job as a filmmaker is to make fake scenes look real.
Yeah,
I use lighting to mimic the sun all the time. Fooled other filmmakers. They thought it was the sunset, but it was really a light. You can prove that the moon landings are fake with this one picture.
Okay.
Because the sun, being about 1,000 times bigger in diameter than the Earth, casts shadows in the same direction over the entire Earth or moon. They're always parallel. It's mathematically and scientifically impossible for shadows to intersect in sunlight, as you can tell in the photograph on the left. The photograph on the right is allegedly from the last mission to the moon, where an astronaut shadow goes at 12 o'clock and a rock about 5 feet away goes at 9 o'clock. That's a 90-degree difference from objects 5 feet apart, indicating that at least 2 electrical lights are being used. You can even see a hot spot around the top. So if you want to prove the moon landing is fake, you can prove it in one photograph. The photograph on the right cannot be duplicated in sunlight. It's supposed to be 20 times brighter with no atmosphere. There's no need for electrical lighting, but obviously the one on the right was lit with electrical lighting. The shadows should be parallel. They're intersecting at 90 degrees from objects 5 feet apart. That would prove it in a court of law, as well as the footage we have of them faking being halfway to the moon, that they didn't go to the moon. That's all the proof you need. It's right there. People can deny it. I talked to a college professor who teaches aerospace at one of the universities, most famous one in America. He says if Neil Armstrong confessed on national TV that the moon missions were fake, he'd still think he walked on the moon anyway. Mm-hmm. People deny the evidence over and over again. They've made a god out of it. Mm-hmm. You can change the hat on who shot JFK and why. You can change the hat on who did 9/11 and why. It's still a tragedy. This is a positive lie, and people do not want to give it up. I got an email from Carl Sagan's associate who told me privately that he believed the moon landings were fake, but he was afraid to say it publicly because of it being politically incorrect. And Carl Sagan said this: one of the saddest lessons of history is this: if we've been bamboozled or lied to long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan, like the federal government, power over you, you almost never get it back. And Mark Twain said, it's easier to fool people than to convince them that they have been fooled. The problem, this is a positive lie. Mm-hmm. This is giving candy to a child and trying to take it away. And people keep defending the people who are ripping them off because our tax dollars went into paying the salaries of the CIA agents that killed the Apollo 1 crew.
On the shadows,
faking it.
You can get shadows to angle towards each other in sunlight.
Well,
it's a fact. You can do it depending on your focal length of the lens and how far away you are from the objects. With one single light source, you can very easily make it appear as if shadows are aiming towards each other.
It's not a light source, it's the sun.
The sun, correct.
The sun.
You can do that with the sun.
I'd like to see it.
All right,
we
Steve,
could go outside or whatever.
Yeah.
But and again, you're right about the lens. This is a 50 millimeter lens.
Okay, let's watch this. This is by the Everyday Astronaut. He made a video.
The people who believe we went to the moon.
All right, well, you're the people who believe we didn't go to the moon.
Right.
So this is a fair shake at the shadow argument.
Yeah, let me say this.
Okay.
If they went to the moon, even though it can't be repeated 50 years later by no nation on Earth, and they can only go 1,000th of far now, despite
Bart, we're talking
5
about
decades.
shadows right now.
I understand this. No, but here's the overall point
I
of a
understand
person
the overall
like this.
point. Okay, I understand.
If they went to the moon, then the amount of evidence I have is 0. And yet, if you look up moon fraud, you get 1,001 YouTube videos by people who were deceived, who have made a god out of the moon landing. Who, if I went around saying Mickey Mouse was the first president of the United States, you think there'd be 1,000 videos to disprove me? The reason why there are is because there's so much emerging proof that the moon missions are fake.
Right.
And they're scrambling to somehow justify all the condemning evidence, like OJ's defense attorney. No matter what evidence is presented, they have some excuse for it.
Sure. Okay, we're going to watch this video of the Everyday Astronaut discussing the lunar shadows. Let's full screen this because I think this is very compelling. And this is, go ahead.
What seems like inconsistent shadows is a common thing for people to point to as suspect of a hoax. For this, let's take a look at this photograph that some people question, saying it was shot in a studio and is proof the Apollo landings were fake. It's from Apollo 17, magazine 136, frame 20,744, shot on one of the iconic Hasselblad 500 EL 6x6 medium format cameras with a Zeiss 60mm f5.6 lens by astronaut Harrison Jack Schmitt at mission elapsed time of 122 hours, 32 minutes and 50 seconds in the Taurus Littrow Valley. The claim here is that these shadows appear to be coming together, proving there to be multiple sources of light, or perhaps a light that's far too close. Certainly not the sun, that's millions of kilometers away. This is one of the easiest things to demonstrate on your own. All we have to do is go out when the sun is fairly low in the sky, about 15 degrees above the horizon, to match the lighting conditions in the photo. Then we need a lens that would be 35 millimeters on a full frame camera, or a 35 millimeter equivalent lens, since the 60 millimeter lens on a medium format camera is equal to about 38 millimeters. So to get the same perspective and angle of view, we'll want to aim for, 35 mil or 40 mil equivalent. Then we just need our camera to be placed roughly mid-chest to match where the Hasselblads were mounted.
Let it play.
On the A7LB spacesuits. It's pretty obvious that all shadows appear to point inwards towards the center of the photo. The further left or right an object is, the more this is exaggerated. And honestly, this is perhaps one of the most elementary of all things. They appear this way because of perspective, the exact same way parallel train tracks or roads appear to converge. And to prove these shadows are indeed parallel, let's just fly up and look down to confirm that they're indeed straight and parallel. Now, ironically, conspiracy theorists claim something exactly backwards. They say shadows appear to converge because it's a close studio spotlight that is roughly 10 feet behind the subject. But the closer a light source is to the camera, the more the shadows appear to line up with the camera's field of view. So the shadows actually become less and less visible to the vantage point of the camera, the closer the light source is. Again, this is kind of photography 101 stuff here. Now, it's often claimed that there are multiple sources of light, and that's why the shadows appear to be in different directions. But the reality is that multiple sources of light will produce multiple shadows on a single subject. And actually, the lighting on the surface of the moon would be virtually impossible to replicate in a studio, even with limitless funds and the most advanced solutions in the world, because notice that in all the images, the entire surface of the moon is equally lit. Since we don't see multiple shadows, you couldn't use multiple sources of light to try and evenly light the scenes, let alone mountains that are several kilometers away from the camera. And light follows the inverse square law. If you move an object twice as far away from a light source, it'll receive 1/4 the amount of light. So imagine trying to light a scene where everything is evenly lit and you don't see multiple shadows. Your light source would have to be several kilometers away, maybe hundreds or millions of kilometers away, and it would have to be unbelievably bright, or perhaps, it could just be the sun. And while we're talking about shadows,
go back toward the beginning of the video where he's trying to mimic the picture that I showed, where there's that little L bracket that's painted white, which is supposed to represent the rock.
Yeah.
Okay, go there.
Okay.
I'll make that full frame. Okay, the shadow of the little L bracket or whatever it is not intersecting at 90 degrees. It's not pointing at 9 o'clock. In the picture that they claim was on the moon, it is. Put them side by side. Plus, he's using a wide-angle lens, which is the type of lens they use in a drone. A wide-angle
that's
lens,
not a drone
which
right there.
causes a little bit of a curvature in the picture.
The rock is not pointing 90 degrees, though.
Well,
the top of the rock is like right here.
The top of the rock goes up like that, and it's projecting that way. It just looks wider because the rock is wider right there.
It's like poking out right there. It makes it look like it's pointing.
Well, I mean,
90 degrees.
compare it with the one. Move this over to the left and put it side by side.
Yeah, it's the same exact thing.
They're not. The shadows are not going the same direction. Okay, he's trying to mimic the picture. They
are going the same direction, Bart.
This is sunlight, and they are not intersecting in the same way in the picture that they claim on the moon. It's not. He's making excuses, but if you look at them side by side, the object that's representing the rock, the shadow is going a completely different direction.
Play that YouTube video again. Play it from where it is. Pause it right there. Go back where it shows the... Okay. It looks like those two shadows are pointing in towards each other. It does not look like they are going in the same direction as his shadow. It looks like they're pointing in towards him.
Well, the point is they're trying to mimic the picture that he just showed. He showed the picture that I showed right before this. The big shadow in the middle is supposed to be the astronaut, and the little white L bracket is supposed to be the rock. But the shadow is not going all the way to the left at 9 o'clock, the same as in the picture.
But why?
Plus, he's using a wide-angle
Why
lens.
are they converging? Why are the shadows from the bracket and that helmet or whatever it is? Why are they converging in? And
They're
his
still
shadow
not intersecting. If you follow the trajectory,
it would absolutely intersect with his shadow if you kept.
Well, again, it's a wide-angle lens that makes the picture curve, not a 50-millimeter lens, which is completely different. Look at my picture again. Parallel shadows. That's how it should look. Okay, the one on the left's taken with the 50-millimeter lens. They don't converge.
I understand what you're saying about the rock. It looks like
those shadows intersect in a few feet. You're according to that wide-angle lens, they would converge or come together at some point in the great distance.
Bart, that rock on the top right, the shadow is not projecting to the left. The shadow is projecting behind it. But the base of the rock touching the ground is more narrow than the top of the rock. It gets wider as it goes out, which from our perspective makes it look like the shadow's going that way, when in fact the shadow is just wider because the light is shooting that way. The shadow's projecting that way, but the shadow is wider than the base of the rock, which makes it look like it's going that way, but it's not. It's like an optical illusion.
Well, that person has said there's no evidence that can ever be presented that will make him deny the authenticity of the moon missions. So let's look.
And you've said the exact opposite.
No,
Wait a minute. What did he say?
No, I proved that I can change my mind because I went from being the greatest fan to the greatest skeptic. If you look at clip 27,
well, let me ask
wait a minute.
you this. Let me ask you this.
We're talking about the pictures.
Okay, but
this is the smartest AI in the world that has a deep fake detector program that has never been wrong. Not available to the public, clip 27. It can tell whether a video of Biden or Trump is a deep fake in 1 second. It's never been wrong. It can analyze pixels in the foreground and see whether the background is fake if the pixels line up. The smartest AI in the world just said all the Apollo pictures were fake.
Okay, I agree. We'll look at that. But can you concede that what we're looking at,
it's not a duplicate. It's not. I mean,
can you concede that
shadows
rock
are going completely different? The one on the left from Apollo 17, they intersect in about 2 feet. The one on the right, they would eventually come to a point somewhere down the path, and that's simply because it's shot with the wide-angle lens. The one on the left of sunlight, all the way to the left, is not a wide-angle lens, and so you see they don't seem to converge in a point because they actually don't.
Right. But if you had a light source that was closer than the sun and smaller than the sun, that would not make the shadows intersect. Do you understand that?
Well, Steve, last time I was here, duplicated the Apollo 17 picture with two electrical lights.
Do you understand
because
that?
that's how it was taken, with two electrical lights.
Do you understand that if you have, and Steve, tell me if I'm foolish, if I'm wrong here. If you have two objects and one light source close to the objects versus compared to a light source that's thousands of miles away, would the closer light source make the shadows go out or make it go in?
It would make them go out.
Out, correct. So it's not possible that it was a closer light source, because a closer light source would not make the shadows converge, Bart.
Well, I've won best cinematography, and I say that the picture on the that they claim is on the moon was taken with an electrical light. And Steve, who believes we went to the moon, last time duplicated the shadows with two electrical lights. That's how it was taken, and that's how Steve duplicated it. Now let's forget our opinion.
I think the shadow
Let's go
argument,
with the smartest AI in the world.
I think this is the worst piece of evidence, because I think this is easily blown out of the water.
Well, and people were murdered. We just saw 15% of the Apollo astronauts were murdered. James Irwin was murdered. The Apollo 1 crew was murdered. Cyrus Eugene Akers said he murdered somebody. So you're a part of that too, in some way. Had you come
wait a
forward,
minute. How many percent of the Apollo crews were murdered?
Well, they had quote fatal accidents all within a 24-month period.
Who?
15% of the Apollo crew and backup crews. And so if you had a McDonald's...
go through those incidences.
Well, you could play the clip again
Let's
or
go
rewind
through
it.
them. Steve, maybe you can Google it.
They showed the pictures of the astronauts. Now, if I was a owner of a McDonald's and 15% of my employees had fatal accidents within 24 months, I think the homicide police will be all over the place. And then the leading critic, Barron, He wrote a report to give to Congress about how they were a decade or more away from going to the moon instead of 2 years. The report disappeared, and he was found dead on a train crossing after he had received death threats. That was an old CIA trick for getting rid of forensic evidence before they had DNA testing. They kill them, put them on the train tracks, and it destroys all the evidence. So not only did they fake the moon landing, the federal government is using our salaries, a third of them, to deceive us and to pay the salaries of CIA agents who are killing our brothers and sisters, who are trying to expose the moon landing fraud.
So all of the moon landings were faked.
You said 20, when you walked in here, you remembered a conversation we had word for word 20 years ago, and you know that I'm the one who said we didn't go to the moon, and yet you've said at least 10 times since we've been here, you're surprised that that's what I'm saying. When Danny made it perfectly clear.
I didn't remember that conversation.
You quoted me word for word.
Well, anyway, I don't remember quoting you that we did not land on the moon.
You said that I called you up and said I have irrefutable proof that we didn't go to the moon. Danny called you up and said you're going to debate somebody who thinks we didn't go to the moon. Yeah. And yet 10 times you've acted like you're surprised. You're just acting. And I'm sorry, there's no Nazi war criminal who ever turned themselves in. They act like a benevolent grandfather when they're guilty. None of them have confessed. None of them came forward, and they're still guilty. And you're the same way. Buzz Aldrin said accidentally one too many times he didn't go to the moon. He was asked a few years ago, why have we not been back? He says, because we didn't go. And if we didn't go, we need to know why. And now that he's tripping over his tongue, they bring you out instead. Since I did Joe Rogan, so many people are being converted to the truth. And you're here to put out fires. Because if I climbed Mount Everest and some guy wanted to debate me, I would not waste my time. You're here to put out all these fires of all these people saying it'll take multiple fuel trips to reach it to the moon. Multiple people saying the radiation belts are dangerous and the technology to go through them hasn't been invented yet. The truth is coming out. What would happen if the truth came out? It would be a big embarrassment for the United States government, an embarrassment for you and all of the other surviving Apollo astronauts who have built their reputations, hired as CEOs of companies for a lie. And that's the way that it is. We live in a fallen world, and people are expected to believe you on face value because you claim to be a Christian, when Jesus himself said the majority of people who claim they're Christian are not saved. So if you were truly converted, you would repent, but you're not. So
repent of what?
Of your lie, your lifelong lie.
Of going to the moon?
Obviously. So anyway, I have one last clip.
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
Wait a minute. You're saying that nobody landed on the moon.
You know that. I don't know why you're acting surprised.
Yes, that's what he said.
That's what he says.
Okay. So where did all the moon rocks come from?
You've asked that 4 times. So we've already covered that.
Okay, Bart, real quick. You said that 15% of the astronauts die within 24 months?
That's right.
Of Apollo 1?
Prior to the Apollo program, prior to the first launch to the moon.
Oh, they died prior to the first launch.
Correct. People,
okay, so how,
in my opinion, who would not cooperate with the fraud, like Gus Grissom.
So how will we ask the internet? We can say how many Apollo astronauts died period before Apollo 1?
That was research done by Fox News and the program Conspiracy Theory, Did We Land on the Moon? You can only see it at Sibrel.com. It's one of the clips available.
Within, this says 24 months after, Steve. You would have to type in how many of the Apollo era astronauts died in accidents.
Well, I'm quoting Fox News.
I understand that, but
research.
I want to corroborate it with ChatGPT. I want to ask how many Apollo astronauts died in accidents before Apollo 1. Before Apollo 1. Enter. Okay. Three.
Yeah, Fox News says there's more than that. They're including the backup crews as well.
Okay. Well, how many Apollo astronauts and crew members or and anybody involved in the Apollo program died before Apollo 1?
Again, that's Fox News. We have Betty Grissom
Right, but
and
this
Scott Grissom saying,
ChatGPT is better than Fox News. It should be able to pull up the evidence, right?
well, again, how does it know Lincoln was the 16th president? It was programmed to say so. So it's not completely reliable. What is reliable is Betty Grissom and Scott Grissom, who told me he was Gus Grissom, their husband and father, was going to be the first man on the moon. He was a whistleblower at NASA to such a degree that he got Secret Service protection up until the day of his death. And they both say he was murdered by the CIA. So why is the CIA killing Apollo astronauts, right?
Well,
who are whistleblowers at NASA? That's not my opinion. That's the opinion of the dead man's relatives, right? And then we have Cyrus Eugene Akers, who was there eyewitnessing the faking of the moon landing in 1968, who says he killed a coworker to cover it up.
Okay, so he was a security guy working at an Air Force base.
The chief of security at
and
the
you're
base.
including him in the 15%?
No, that, I guess you'd have to add that to it. They're talking about Apollo astronauts and backup crews.
Okay, so
I'm sure they know how to count.
How can we find this Fox thing online?
It's on my website on Sibrel.com.
How can we find it off of your website?
It's not available anymore.
It's not available anywhere off your web. Okay.
Yeah. So again, I think Fox News knows how to count and divide on a computer. If they said it's 15%, I'm pretty sure it's 15%.
Right. So. And I think you've said this before, if we did fake it, if we faked Apollo 11, why wouldn't they just say, okay, we went to the moon, wash our hands of it? Why would we fake it 5 more times?
Because the government is greedy. My first military source who told me the missions were fake said it's all about the money. $250 billion in today's dollars to go to the moon when they only achieved Earth orbit. That means they can keep about 75% of that. Tens of billions of dollars. I guess what is, 25% of 250 billion. That's what they spent, and they kept 75% of it for who knows what, to go into Cambodia. Congress said you can't use funding to go into Cambodia. We know they did. Where did that money come from? The Apollo program. Just like now, they said you can't give technology to China, but they're doing it anyway. They're breaking their own laws, according to someone who works in the command center of the Chinese Space Agency.